All right, ever looked at something tiny, like really tiny, and just completely overlooked it? Well, what if I told you that treasure could be hiding in plain sight, in something small enough to fit on your fingertip? We're talking about something absolutely packed with history, art, and a wild story. So let's dive into the secret life of a single, amazing, antique button. So here's the big question right off the bat. How in the world can a tiny button, I mean this thing is barely bigger than your thumbnail, how can it be worth up to 250 bucks? Well, the answer is kind of wild. It involves a Parisian family dynasty, a strange little nursery rhyme, and some craftsmanship that is just wow. Seriously impressive.
So, a $200 button? Yeah. Let's get into what makes this little thing a legit miniature masterpiece.
Okay, so here he is. Meet the Nut Tree Boy button. And let me tell you, this is not just any old button you'd find in a sewing kit. Nope. This is a genuine, antique enamel button all the way from 19th century Paris. And that little guy on it, he's straight out of a classic and kind of weird nursery rhyme. Okay, let's zoom in, because this is where the artistry just pops. Every single one of these is a tiny work of art. The center? It's hand-painted enamel on a solid metal base. But look closer. See that sparkle in his clothes? Those are tiny, tiny flecks of real gold foil. They call the technique paillons, and they're literally embedded inside the enamel. And to top it all off, it's surrounded by this beautiful, ornate gilt brass rococo frame. Oh, and collectors have this great name for these little characters. They call them French fops.
So who was making these little jewels? Well, for that, the story takes us right into the heart of Paris, and we get to meet a pretty impressive family dynasty.
The makers were a company called AP&C. That stands for Albert Parent Company. And believe me, this was no fly-by-night shop. These guys were a Parisian institution. We're talking about a family business that got its start way, way back in 1825 and kept going for over 100 years. They made all sorts of luxury goods, silk, pearls, and yeah, these absolutely incredible enamel buttons.
And what's cool is you can actually see the family legacy just by looking at how the company's name changed over the years, as it was passed from father to son and as new partners came on board. Our Nut Tree Boy button, the one with that specific AP&C Paris stamp on the back, that tells us it was made starting in 1894. So it puts it smack dab in the middle of this amazing family history. Okay, but why Nut Tree Boy? It's a pretty specific name, right? Well, the clue isn't in some dusty history book. Nope, it's hidden in a children's nursery rhyme. The whole design is inspired by this old English nursery rhyme that starts, "I had a little nut tree." The rest of the rhyme is all about a silver nutmeg and a golden pear, and even a visit from the King of Spain's daughter. It's super whimsical, and the button just perfectly captures that storybook feeling.
All right, quick public service announcement here, and this is important. When we say nut tree, we are talking only about this specific antique button. We are not talking about that old nut tree roadside stop in California. And we are most definitely 100% not talking about that nut button meme from the internet, okay? Different nuts, different trees, different everything. Just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, now for the part you've been waiting for. This is where it gets really exciting. Let's say you're rummaging through an old sewing box, maybe at a flea market, and you find something that looks just like this. How do you know if it's the real deal? How do you know if you've just struck antique gold?
So you think you found one? Here's your official treasure hunter's guide. We're going to break down exactly how to spot a genuine antique so you can tell the real from the fake.
It all comes down to 4 key things you got to check. The finish, the way it's built, that super important mark on the back, and even just how it feels in your hand, the weight. Let's get into it. Okay, here's the side-by-side. A real one is going to have this smooth, glossy, almost glass-like finish. A fake, they'll probably look flat or have bumpy paint. Next, check the edges. An antique feels finished, a little rounded. A reproduction often has sharp, kind of raw edges. Now the big one, the back mark. The real AP&C Paris mark is impressed into the metal. You can feel the indentation. A fake will have it just painted on or have no mark at all. And finally, just pick it up. The original feels heavier, more solid, because it's made in layers. The fake just feels, well, light and cheap.
So when you put all those pieces together, the art, the history, the story, you start to realize this thing is so much more than just a button. It really is a legacy in miniature.
And that brings us right back to the money. So what are they worth? Well, depending on the condition, the size, and how rare it is, and especially if you find a matched set, these buttons can go for anywhere from $30 to well over $250. It just goes to show you how much collectors still love these things. At the end of the day, that's what each of these buttons really is.
a perfect little time capsule. It's got the art, the fashion, even the pop culture of the Victorian era, all preserved in this one tiny object you can literally hold in the palm of your hand.
And that really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, look around you. What are the small, everyday things in your life right now that might become a treasured piece of history? What tiny object is going to tell your story 100 years from now?